Yeah, maybe that's where I would start.
Oh, okay.
We're thrilled to have Geneva on board, and this is really the next step in what I would call a journey at the Natural Resources Agency. So I'm looking around the room, and I've worked with many of you, but for those who I haven't, let me just tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the agency, and then most importantly get into the issues that you want to talk about. So I've been the Secretary of the Natural Resources Agency for about 2 years. Prior to that, I ran a small nonprofit philanthropy called the Water Foundation, where I was focused on water issues. And then prior to that, I worked for Governor Brown for about 5 years in the governor's office and had a chance to work with at least some tribal governments at that point. I'm a native of Michigan. I came to California shortly after college and then have just been involved in environmental and natural resources since. The Natural Resources Agency, as many of you know, is one of our 2 environmental agencies at the state. You have Cal EPA, and Cal EPA is much like US EPA, the environmental regulators, protecting clean water, clean air, toxics, pesticides. Our agency, Natural Resources, is more akin to the Department of Interior at the federal level. So we're really, we consider ourselves the stewardship agency. Our mission is to steward the natural resources, the cultural and historic resources of the state. There's about 21,000 people in the agency. It includes many departments that you, of course, know, like CAL FIRE, our State Parks Department, our Department of Fish and Wildlife, our Department of Water Resources, Conservation, Energy Commission, all of our state's conservancies, from the Sierra Nevada Conservancy to the Coastal Conservancy, San Diego River Conservancy, and then the Coastal Commission, and a few others. So we're a big, broad agency. So let me stop there. I just appreciate the opportunity to share with you what we're doing and also want to learn from you what else we should be doing.
I think in some of these cases, if we could try to implement, let's slow down a little bit. Let's reach some kind of agreement. Not just a dog and pony show, we get our consultation, so now we can move on. That happens too frequently, and I don't know if it's your level or not, but, so even if we say, okay, let's, before we leave consultation, let's come up with something. Not just, okay, we consulted, we both said things, and everybody goes their own way, you know. So we've got to work on that, I think, a little better. Or something, even if we're going to do a moratorium for a little period of time until we get the piece put together. I'd like for you to consider some of those things. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'll acknowledge that one thing we can't allow for is that consultation to be a check the box exercise on state government's part. And you know, I presume that in the past, in many instances, it has. I think, again, one of the reasons why, you know, Geneva's role exists is to really ensure that consultation is used effectively and is meaningful.
Really thankful what the chairman said as far as tribal consultation is only as good as if we have a solution. So we believe we have a solution for you, and you're more than welcome to take a seat right there, sir, because we want you to see the slides. We feel as if we became prepared. You know, I'll start off with a little humor. I had a joke for us earlier I was saving for us. And I said, do you know why non-Indians, maybe the United States, I don't know yet on that one, but why non-Indians were the first people on the moon? Because they heard Indians had land up there. I wanted to share with you some slides that's happening right now in the Jackson Demonstration State Forest. Are you familiar with that area?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Geneva, you got him my email, my binder, and all that stuff? Thank you. I appreciate you. I know she's a warrior for us. So I'm going to go through this and ask, and you don't have to answer to it. You don't have to answer. Does this look like fire prevention? If you look here, people, that's dry wood. That's dry trees getting cut down after they took the big redwoods out. Let's go to the next slide. Is this a healthy timber harvest plan? That's after the fact. It doesn't look healthy to me. We'll keep going. Does this promote late successional forest? That's CAL FIRE claims. They leave these logs in the forest because they had to cut them down to get access to the 150 150-year-old redwoods, and they're approved THPs. These are approved by CAL FIRE Logging themselves, our state agency. Let's keep going. Is this a healthy timber harvest plan? This is an old timber harvest plan. They never took the old stuff out. It's still there, sir. Let's keep going. Is this a healthy timber harvest plan? These are different areas of when they cut down the trees to get to their large 150-year-old redwoods. This is what they leave behind. They don't even log it. They don't even take it. And that becomes a fire hazard to us. So I ask, is this a healthy timber harvest plan? Let's go to the next one. So here's the final slide. And this is the one that just gets me. And this is the one that THP, this is a timber harvest plan that CAL FIRE uses, that approved, CAL FIRE approved this process, this method of fire prevention. You take out the large redwoods, 150-year-old plus redwoods. You see the blue stripes there? You take out the large ones and you leave the small ones. There's no more, sir, please, stop. There's no more consultation. I don't know what to say anymore about consultation, sir. So this is where I'm attached to it. See, I'm from the Coyote Valley Band of Pomo Indians. I have a lot of Pomo brothers here with me today. That Jackson Demonstration State Forest is my homeland. That's my homeland. So this isn't just forest and fire prevention and THPs and all these words we use in our consultations, sir. This is my homeland. You see, I've danced in the redwoods with my feathers, barefoot, and I can feel the energy. See, I have a connection to this land that every other tribal leader has to their land. And the CAL FIRE wants to tell me that cutting down our 150-year-old redwoods is fire prevention. And then they hide behind the fact that CAL FIRE firefighters are actually what's saving our forest. No. They're protecting our forest from the methods that CAL FIRE logging has done in our forest. It doesn't work. CAL FIRE had their chance. It doesn't work. We have to do a 180. What I'm asking for, sir, is a moratorium in the Jackson Demonstration State Forest. A moratorium, not tomorrow, but probably what, Monday? Because every day you wait, sir, they cut 150-year-old timber, redwood down. Every day you wait. And this is a state forest, sir. This does not have to be managed by CAL FIRE. There's another agency this could be managed by. It's the stroke of the pen of yours and the governor, sir. We don't need legislation to do this fix. Sir, I worked so hard to get to this point in front of you. I worked very hard. I got Coyote Valley to sign a letter. It's in this binder. I got the United Pomo Nations, 16 Pomo tribes in that area, that's their homeland, to sign a letter. I got the Central California Tribal Chairpersons Association, over 50 tribes, to sign a letter. And I got the California Tribal Chairpersons Association, who's here, to sign a letter requesting, sir, that you be our warrior and you do us a big win for our Pomo lands, for our homelands, and do a moratorium. At least, until we could figure out what a winning plan is. Because we all know, everybody, you know you cannot cut 150-year-old redwoods and call it fire prevention. We need the California Natural Resources Agency. We need you to regulate. You are the stewards of our land, sir, and we're behind you. We wanted you to be here today because we wanted to share this moment with you and tell you we have an answer. And it doesn't have to be through tribal consultation. It doesn't have to be through legislation. This one is yours, sir. And I'm asking you, as someone that my roots are there, those redwoods tell my story. There's no more stories if you take them. Once the old growth die off, there will no longer be second mature growth to take their spot, which means the land that I walk today with my grandchildren, today, the land that I walk with today, those trees will not have those memories. And I don't know what else to do but to get to this point where I am in front of you, sir. I don't know what else to do anymore. I'm tired. I'm mad. I'm hurt. My boundaries are in Mendocino County, and it's burning because CAL FIRE believes that their method works. Porter, the leader of CAL FIRE, says it. He's quoted saying it, that the reason we have our state forests today is because they managed them. As if we don't see the fires all around us. As if we're not living in the smoke. So we can talk and talk and talk. But today what I'm asking, sir, is lead us. We're your warriors. I'm here. I'm here. We're here. The tribal leaders are here. You know, and I asked the tribal leaders to come up and stand with me. And I asked, would you please come up and stand with me, you guys? Please come up. Because I want Mr. Crowfoot to know, brother, that we're here with you, man. But you gotta fight. We need warriors. We need warriors. And you know, I wanted to film this moment and have my brothers here, have my chairman here, these other chairpersons. These are chairpersons throughout Indian country. We're here today to ask you for a moratorium on the Jackson Demonstration State Forest. No more logging. Let's stop and wait. Let's just stop and figure out how to do a 180. We cannot do tribal consultations while you're logging our largest redwoods. That's bad faith. That's asking us to sit at the table and participate in a process that doesn't stop the logging in the Jackson Demonstration State Forest, sir. And I would like to give you the opportunity, we are videoing, I would like to give you the opportunity to let these people know that are watching us, that you stand with us. And I would love to hear what you have to say, sir. Please, and I hope I motivated you and not made you upset. I hope I motivated you, sir. But so please, talk to that camera and tell us how you're going to help us, sir. I want to know how you're going to help us, what we're going to do. Because I promise you I'm behind you. The mic is yours, brother.
A few things. I mean, first of all, this is the first time we've ever talked about this. And this is the first time we've had a chance to actually discuss the Jackson Demonstration State Forest. And I'm hoping that the kind of working relationship that we have is that we can actually sit down and talk about these issues. I welcome what you are calling for in the sense of holding us accountable and saying this is what we need. But I also need to be able to sit down and talk to you about this. So for example, my understanding is that currently there is not timber harvest happening at Jackson Demonstration Forest right now. That there are not trees being cut down. That we are trying to understand that while the forest has an approved management plan, that as I understand it, didn't register opposition when it was passed, and while it has a number of timber harvest plans that were approved, again, without the opposition that I'm experiencing, hearing today, we understand very recently that there's significant concern about this. And so what I understand, what I'm told, is that there is not timber harvest happening there. And I also want to share with you at least what has been happening up there. So for those of you who don't know, Jackson State Demonstration Forest, at least it has existed in the past, in part to provide scientific understanding of what regulations we need on timber harvest across the country. Now, many of you know that most of the redwood country is under private ownership. And most of that private ownership is focused on private timber harvest. It's the state of California that regulates that timber harvest, that explains what are the rules for actually harvesting redwood. Jackson State Forest is about 50,000 acres. I think redwood country is about 10 million acres or more. At Jackson Demonstration Forest, they've been doing peer-reviewed science, in other words, independent science, where universities from around the country come and they understand the environmental impacts of timber harvest or logging in the redwoods. So some of the worst photos that you see from, as I understand it, from a presentation like this, is a portion of what's called Casper Creek timber harvest.
No.
Can I?
I want you to finish, but I want to make sure we're correct, and I don't want anybody to think I agree with you right now.
No.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that, but I mean, again, I'm coming in respect, and what I'd ask for is some level of collaboration in talking about this. This is the first time we've ever talked about this, and so what I'm trying to do is at least share my understanding so that you're aware. And at least some of that Casper Creek watershed that's been subject to timber harvest, essentially CAL FIRE has allowed for different amounts of harvest in these 20-acre plots. So they've taken some plots with very minimal harvest, in other words, cutting down very few trees. And then in some of the plots, they've done almost 75% of the trees cut down, which looks a lot like a clear cut to you or I. And what they're doing through this peer-reviewed science is understanding what the runoff from those plots are into the creek, in this case, the South Fork of the Casper Creek. Because the Board of Forestry, which creates these regulations, wants to make sure that they don't allow for timber harvest that actually negatively impacts the creek and the watershed. So, at least as I've understood it or been explained, a significant portion of the demonstration forests across the state, there are 12 of them, Jackson is the largest, are conducting these types of experiments. And Jackson Demonstration State Forest is the only one of these state demonstration forests in the redwood ecosystem. So I've also received a lot of incoming from scientists that have been involved in this 60-year longitudinal study of the environmental impacts of logging in the Casper Creek watershed. And I've also had a lot of incoming from folks who are making their living through these timber harvests in the nearby communities. From CAL FIRE's perspective, and I know there'd be opposition to this, their perspective is, can we, one, generate the science that helps us ensure that the regulations are strong enough to protect the environment in these millions of acres that are being harvested for private? And then two, can we demonstrate over time that sustainable logging can actually happen in a redwood ecosystem through science-based management? Now, I understand that a lot of this is very hard to hear.
No, it's not. I'm not dumb. I know what you're saying, sir, but I feel like you're being long-winded, and what I'm saying is, if we can't agree that cutting 150-year-old redwood trees is not climate action, if we can't agree that cutting those is okay, that's what we're talking about, sir. You could talk about every other thing, and that's what we do in tribal consultation process, sir, but the fact remains is the CAL FIRE has failed. They failed in their demonstration, and they believe that cutting down 150-year-old redwoods is fire prevention. And I'm sorry, sir, you could say anything, but we're focused on that. You cannot log anymore successfully, but who in their right minds believes that cutting 150-year-old redwoods, sir, is fire prevention, or even a demonstration in doing what's right in our redwoods? But the debate is over. You can't cut the largest, sir. Tell me that. Tell me what makes you think it's okay to cut 150-year-old redwoods and that's part of a THP.
So now that you are aware of it, let's plan to have a meeting with those that want to attend, sit down and try to work through this, and make sure though that the Indian, the tribal side is incorporated into the plan. I think that's what the chairman's also asking if we.
Well, it seems we can't agree that cutting 150-year-old redwood trees is a bad thing for our redwoods. So there's no starting point for me, sir. But what I promise you is that I'll have every Native American out there from this day on, because we're not going to allow it anymore, that I would be in the forest just to stop the logging, sir, because you cannot ask me to negotiate while you log, sir. We need you. That's called bad faith negotiations. You want me to sit down and negotiate while Cal Fire logging cuts our 150-year-old trees. That doesn't sound like you respect my position, sir. Can you understand that?
Yes, I will say, it's my clear understanding that there is no timber harvest happening right now, that there are no logging happening. And I commit to a respectful government-to-government consultation that's honest, that's direct, that incorporates all tribal perspectives that want to be involved before timber harvest resumes.
Okay, I think that's where we go next. Sit down.
You are more than welcome to sit down with everybody, sir. But I'll be in those defending those redwoods, sir. That's all I can say.